Hey guys! Christoph the Polish Geek is back with a much more positive video that finally is completely politics free. At least election politics, but it might discuss a little bit about religion in the Catholic Church because welcome to the review of Conclave, and I reacted to the trailer, and ever since I saw this trailer I was so much looking forward to it. It became my second most anticipated movie for the rest of the year, only behind Nosferatu, which I'm still very hyped for, but Conclave, I was so looking forward to this. Like, the trailers look so excellent and all that, because I've said it many times already on my channel, I'm a Roman Catholic. I am a Catholic, and I really like all that stuff relating to faith and all that. I really love those types of movies, especially that I also love studying the Catholic Church history and all that, some really interesting stuff. And so as a Catholic, I was very much looking forward to it, especially that I do wish that Hollywood actually was making more movies about Catholicism. I mean, there certainly are some, but yep, I was very much looking forward to this movie. But then I've heard some controversy that is based on a book, and I've heard from some people apparently saying that the final twist is like very insulting to Catholics. I mean, I've seen a video by Ben Shapiro and some other people saying how insulting it is to Catholics and all that. But so yes, I'm not going to lie, I read about the twist, and I'm not going to hide that my excitement did a little bit go down. But at the same time, I decided that I should still go and see the movie with open mind, because after all, like, plenty of the people saying it weren't even Catholic, and they were only making assumptions based on some twists on the book, especially that I also read from some people that actually read the book that the people were very much misunderstanding the twist. So yes, I went to see the movie with open mind. And what I think of it? Most of the movie was actually quite interesting. I would say it was a great movie for the most part. And then at the last 10 minutes, were they insulting? I already said in my reaction video, not sure if I would call them insulting, but certainly unnecessary and certainly divisive. But we'll talk about those last 10 minutes later. First, let's talk about the whole movie as a whole, because as I said, I would say outright I loved most of the movie up until those 10 minutes, so we'll talk about later. First I'll say about most of the movie, which, as I said, I actually loved. The basic premise of the movie is that the Pope dies, so all the cardinals from all over the world, all the cardinals gather to elect a new Pope, which is a conclave, because, yes, in the Catholic tradition, when the Pope dies, unless, of course, he abdicates, resigns, like Pope Benedict XVI did. But yes, generally when the Pope dies, all the cardinals, all of them from all over the world, they gather into the conclave, lock themselves, and that's when they are discussing and voting for who the new Pope will be. And they are not leaving the building until the Pope is elected. And then when they choose the Pope, one of them goes outside the window at the St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican City and says "Saudamus Papa," which means in Latin, I believe, we have the Pope. And then the new Pope welcomes the crowd. And so yes, seeing it actually inside and how it all goes on, there was some really awesome, interesting stuff, to see the conclave from the inside at all, and the cinematography was excellent, and the costumes were so authentic, and how costumes of actual Catholic cardinals look like. Yeah, some awesome stuff. But what I really even loved more about it is that the conflict in the characters, which kind of represents a modern conflict in the Catholic Church between liberal Catholicism, mainstream moderate Catholicism, and traditionalist Catholicism, because there is the main character played by Ralph Fiennes, who is a Thomas Lawrence, a very liberal cardinal who kind of represents something that people associate with Pope Francis, a liberal Catholic Church, although the truth is plenty of people pull out Pope Francis' words out of the context, but that's neither here nor there. But yes, you have a liberal Catholic like Thomas Lawrence, who, in the movie, who's basically like this liberal Catholic who like believes in moral relativism and all that, and then you also have like Tremblay, who is like more moderate, I say. And then there is, of course, Cardinal Tedesco, who's like a traditionalist Catholic, and he's Italian, which I think fits perfectly, especially that he actually wants an Italian Pope, because ever since John Paul II was, by the way, the first non-Italian Pope in like hundreds of years, and he's very much loved here in Poland, and yeah, like I think he was awesome. Like he's certainly one of my favorite historical people with all the great things he did, but again, neither here nor there. So yes, Cardinal Tedesco very much wants an Italian Pope. Not only that, but he actually discusses plenty of the changes that he very much hates that were made in the Second Vatican Council, such as Mass being done in a local language instead of a traditional Latin Mass, and how he thinks that the Church should go back to a Latin Mass. And I will say this, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a traditionalist Catholic, but I admit I do love attending Latin Tridentine Mass. It's just so beautiful, and I love Latin language, and it's just hard to say, but it just feels so much more spiritual and all that. Hard to describe it, but yep. I do often, in fact, when I can, of course, attend a Latin Tridentine Mass, if I can, because, as I said, it's just so beautiful and feels so spiritual and closer to God. But then also there are some other interesting issues raised, actually, like about the interfaith dialogue with other religions, which, of course, as you can imagine, as a traditionalist Catholic, Cardinal Tedesco very much opposes, while Thomas Lawrence is very much all for it. And I will say this is also some really interesting topic, because yes, the Catholic Church, as I said, is still very divided, and Pope Francis is certainly a pretty divisive pope, but it's actually an interesting point to raise, that interfaith dialogue and what language the Mass should be in, like whether classic Latin or a local language. Those two things technically should have nothing to do with each other. Like, shame they do tend to go hand in hand among Catholics, but yeah, technically those things should really have absolutely nothing to do with each other. So yes, seeing a conflict between a traditionalist Catholic and a liberal Catholic, as well as some moderate Catholics, there was some really interesting and very faith-provoking, but also somewhat reflecting basically the real division in the Catholic Church. I really loved that. That was awesome. And also there were some actually interesting twists in the movie that, in all honesty, made the final twist that we'll get to later again even more unnecessary, because the movie already had plenty of pretty interesting and much better twists than that, such as some scandals involving some cardinals, for example, like Cardinal Tremblay, for example, the moderate one. That was really interesting. And also this other cardinal from Africa, and how he had a romance with a nun, which is very wrong in the Catholic Church, because technically both priests and nuns and any member of the clergy is supposed to be celibate. So those things were really interesting and thought-provoking, and objectively kind of true, because scandals like that sadly have happened in real life. So yes, those are all the things I really loved in the movie, because, as I said, there was plenty to love. But now let's talk about some negatives before we get to the last 10 minutes, which really was the worst part and what ruined the movie for some people. For me, I'll talk about it a little bit later. But first, another thing I wasn't a huge fan of the movie is that there was not much prayer. I mean, there was some prayer in Latin at the beginning, and I loved that, but I really wish there was more of it, because when the cardinals are actually electing the Pope, they very much are praying. Like, there is lots and lots of praying involved. Like, so yes, I really wish there was a lot more praying actually, especially that would actually be far more accurate to what Conclave actually looks like. But well, that's Hollywood, it's not like they're going to do this, but well, I personally wish there was a lot more prayer, although that's probably me as a Catholic speaking, but oh well. And now, the final 10 minutes, with the twist that really will, I think, very much divide Catholics, and plenty would say it's blasphemous, which I said in my reaction video. I personally disagree, but I can understand where some people will be coming from, because in the movie there is this young Cardinal Benitez who actually doesn't want to be Pope, and no one even is considering him, but I personally was actually rooting for him, and I kind of predicted that maybe he will be this unexpected choice for the Pope, and I personally very much rooted for him, because I thought that he was the best one of them all, especially that he was a missionary that just came back from Afghanistan, and I thought that he really was the most qualified to be Pope, especially that he very much focused on the things that very much should be the focus. And now we are entering gigantic spoiler territory, and that is, yes, he does become the Pope, which I liked, but then that's when this twist comes from. Although the initial twist I heard is actually quite different, because I was hearing that apparently in the book it's revealed that the previous Pope was like intersex, but no, that's actually not the twist. Like, the twist is that Benitez, the one elected Pope, is intersex, and he had some female genitalia because of that. And in the Catholic Church, only men can be ordained priests. He technically is a man, just with some female genitalia, but in the modern woke climate, I wouldn't be surprised. I understand why plenty of Catholics feel offended and blasphemed by that, but at the same time, personally at least, I think that the reason why I didn't find the twist offensive, well, intersex people do exist, like being intersex is very real, and plenty of people are intersex, and when Benitez said that he did consider an operation to remove like his female genitalia, but then ultimately decided, I am what God made me to be, well, that is actually true. Like, God never makes mistakes, so obviously he created him like that. Like, it will probably be debatable among Catholics if he actually should be ordained a priest, but he certainly was right when he said that he was what God made him to be. That in some ways could be very thought-provoking, but at the same time, for me, that twist, first and foremost, felt just like completely unnecessary. There was already so much awesome, interesting stuff and thought-provoking stuff in the movie with plenty of other twists. Honestly, that twist really felt unnecessary. I think just ending it with the election of Cardinal Benitez, that would be a perfect ending for the movie, because that twist, as I said, it felt so forced and unnecessary. But again, do I think it was offensive for Catholics? Plenty do. I personally don't think so. So my suggestion to fellow Catholics, if you're interested in watching this movie, do what you think is right. Pray to God and follow your heart, and again, do and believe in what you think is right. I'm just expressing my opinion. So, here is my review of the Conclave. Like, I love plenty of stuff, didn't like some other stuff, but here is my review, and thank you all of you for checking out this video. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you later, bye.